Greetings, Tezos Nation. I'm Stu from the Tezos Commons. Joining me today are Will, also from the Tezos Commons, and Bernd Oostrum, co-founder of Plenty DeFi. As always, we'll be giving away a Tezos branded Nano Ledger S to one lucky viewer during the stream, so keep an ear out for the keyword later on during the chat. Hi, Bernd. How are things in the Netherlands?
Pretty good, actually. Well, I don't know if it's good because I don't leave my apartment at all.
Nothing going on outside your window?
No, the only time I go outside is to walk my two dogs, and that's about it. My girlfriend's not happy at all, but yeah, that's the DeFi life, I think. 24/7.
I think that's all pretty common these days.
Yeah.
So just to get a little bit of background, I wanted to ask, what drew you to the crypto space in general and DeFi in particular?
Whoa, that's a big question.
I know it is.
To go back a long time, I think it was 2015 or 14 when I found Bitcoin. I was inspired by it, by all the different elements, philosophical, economical, the technical side of it. But the thing that really drew me in was Ethereum. And I was super excited about that when Ethereum launched, and I'm a coder myself. I studied software engineering in the Netherlands. So I thought, now I can build stuff really cool. And then Ethereum came out with the first ICO, the DAO. I was pretty hyped about that. I participated. And then we all know what happened back in 2016. Was it 2016?
17, right?
The DAO contract was used in a
that.
way that people didn't like. So that in itself was not the biggest problem there, but I think the biggest problem there was that Ethereum forked to solve that issue. While one of their first, in their first pitch deck, I think they said Ethereum will be immutable. Well, back in 2016, they already threw that out the window. So that scared me away from Ethereum a little bit. I panic sold all my ETH at $7.
Ouch.
Jesus. Yeah. So and then I found Tezos, and in the white paper, all the problems that Ethereum would face or was facing were described. So I was intrigued. I invested in ICO. I kept following it. In 2017, there were a lot of ICOs going on, and online you saw people raising funds for crazy projects, like millions of dollars for Putin coin, Trump coin, all that crazy weird stuff, Pickle Rick, and I was frustrated because I didn't know what to build. I had no clue what to build, and apparently all these people around me were having all these great ideas and raising millions. So I took a different route into the blockchain space. I joined an insurance company. They were looking for a blockchain developer, and I joined. And I joined there, and we did multiple cool projects, also with insurance companies and other banks. And people were really amazed by that you can work together with other entities. That in itself was already really special. Quite surprising, and yeah, we did cool projects, but never it took the next step. We were always waiting for the regulators to approve projects, and I think they're still waiting for one of the projects to get approved back when I was there in 2018. So it's just, yeah, it is a nice environment to get familiar with business and those kind of things, but if you really want to build something, yeah, you need to get started yourself. So I left that insurance company. I went to Draper University in Silicon Valley, an entrepreneurship training, and there I met my co-founder Omalvia, and that's where it all started. Jesus, it was a long story. I need to trim that down for the next podcast. But yeah, there we started with an insurance idea because I came from an insurance company, so thought, how can we build a decentralized insurance platform on Tezos? We kept doing that for a while. We raised funds for that, and over the years, it became clear. Oh Jesus! It became clear that insurance on Tezos was a bit too early, or decentralized insurance on Tezos, because certain building blocks were still missing. Even developer tools back then, they weren't there. So in 2019, we also started building developer tools with Tezsure, and that evolved into now we have a Flutter library, completely open source for building mobile applications on Tezos, and that is now our open source effort, and I'll tell a bit more about NaNoWallet later on. But otherwise, I go in all these different directions. But so we started with tools because all the other stuff was not there yet. Crucial building blocks like stable coins, they're there now, but back when we started, they weren't even there yet. So a lot of crucial elements of Tezos were still missing, and in the last few years, they all came on Tezos, and now it all came together to create an ecosystem where Plenty could be a success.
So I wanted to ask you, you mentioned being attracted to crypto in part because of the philosophical implications. And obviously that journey has led you to Plenty.
Yeah.
What are the problems with the existing centralized finance infrastructure that you think DeFi holds the potential to solve, and what role can Plenty play in that?
Well, funny or not really funny. We incorporated in the US, and getting a bank account was already a challenge for a blockchain company. And a few months ago, Wells Fargo closed our bank account without any communication. They said, you do stuff with Coinbase, so that's it. So yeah, that can already be solved by blockchain itself. A really simple example of crypto companies getting shut down because they do crypto, or they can't have access to a bank account. Like back then, I was really about the vision and dreaming what could be back in 2017, right? All these projects were promising the world. Everything is going to be decentralized. But now, with Plenty, we're just trying to get up the level from Ethereum first. That's all what we're thinking about right now. That's why we're iterating so fast, getting on that level. And when we're there, then we can think about the greater vision of it all. We first need to get on that level of Ethereum to compete, and then we can talk about the making the world a better place.
and as a step towards that, you've recently launched your AMM. Can you tell us, for those of us who might not be super familiar, what is AMM and why is it important?
Well, was it in 2017 when Ether Delta was a thing? Ether Delta was a decentralized exchange on Ethereum using an order book model, and their developers quickly realized that solution is not very suitable for on a blockchain. So there had a new way of trading had to be developed, and out of that, a need for decentralized trading, and AMM, the Uniswap came out of that. Jesus, my English. So out of that need for swapping in a decentralized manner, people shifted from having an order book model to having a liquidity pool where people add liquidity in 2 or more tokens, and they get trading fees paid to them from that providing. Jesus, I'm struggling.
You're doing fine.
So users provide liquidity into liquidity pools, and they get trading fees in return for that. And users can then swap freely using that liquidity. But what we have seen on Ethereum, but also on Tezos, that is not enough incentive for liquidity providers to provide liquidity. So from that idea, Plenty was born. So we wanted to attract liquidity from other blockchains. And how do you do that? By incentivizing people with a reward token. So that is in itself the idea behind Plenty. Was that the question? I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've just launched V2, right?
Yeah.
And that launch has generated quite a big liquidity pool. It's come out of the gate pretty quickly, right? From your perspective, what is it about Plenty that has made it gain traction so quickly now that you've launched V2?
I have no idea. No. We've been developing for a long time on Tezos. We already had a DeFi project lined up to launch during the last few months, but by accident we came across Draper Gorham Holm, and we discussed the Tezos ecosystem, and we thought, okay, how can we bring it up to a level of Ethereum as fast as possible, and that's how it became a reality, just by thinking, okay, what is needed right now on Tezos? Liquidity. So how are we going to get it there? Was that the question?
That's the big question. Is obviously in order for these things to grow, in order for the ecosystem to function, there needs to be more liquidity. So is this a sign of like the rapid growth of Plenty since V2 launch and the growth of your liquidity pools? Is this a sign of things to come in terms of attracting liquidity from other blockchains through AMM?
So now we have with QuicklySwap, with the one pair that we had first, the farm for XTZ Plenty, we could only do one farm. Now we have our own AMM. We can do a lot more different things. We can incentivize people to provide liquidity to our own AMM. So now finally the circle is complete after launch. What we first launched was a 0.5 version, maybe. It was just a way to distribute tokens, and I think one of the success factors there was that there was nothing like it on Tezos back then, and it had the right combination of a big investor named Draper Gorham Holm, a team that has been developing for a while, and it was just the perfect storm all coming together, and that's something we didn't experience before. So it's not like we are now the guys that know how to get success. No, not at all. We've done many different projects, many different. We tried to build an insurance platform that failed. So now it all came together into a perfect storm, and we're now doubling down on it. So this is all we're doing right now, including a mobile wallet still that will also have a lot of Plenty integrations in the future.
And you've just launched some new staking pairs. We saw that announced just before we went live. Can you talk a bit about that?
So which pairs were they again? It was Rep Link, Rep Matic, and USDTZ. And we also have, including farms, and for pairs we also added to stablecoin pairs, just to see if liquidity providers want to provide liquidity to those trading pairs. It'll be interesting to see in the coming days if people are going to use it. So yeah, that's also a thing with this development, is that people often ask, where's the roadmap? What are your plans? Where do you see yourself in a year? No, we're quickly iterating, continuously improving, and that is the way forward, adapting to the continuously changing DeFi ecosystem.
Well, I guess you're going to learn a lot from seeing how people interact with what you have on offer, right?
Yeah. So based on that, we can adjust course. So it's very valuable to try new things and just experiment a little bit with new financial products.
Okay, but obviously a good start, right?
Yeah, it is a good start.
I'm sure you're excited by the way things have begun here.
Yeah, definitely. But it's difficult to take a bird's eye view for a moment, because I'm continuously in it, like 24/7, only building, discussing changes to the front end, back end, everything. And it's cool to see it becoming such a success so fast, but we're definitely not there yet at all. It's still peanuts compared to Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon. So we still need to do better, a lot better to compete with them.
Okay. So a couple of weeks ago, we spoke to Hugo from Bender Labs, who you've recently collaborated with, and are still collaborating with. Do you think, from your perspective, was that sort of a matter of it being convenient to collaborate, or do you think it's a sign of a trend away from competition between brands and maybe a little bit more of a collaborative mentality to grow the ecosystem as a whole?
Yeah, I just said competing between other chains and other protocols. There's no competition yet. There's no competition going on yet. I think we still need to grow the ecosystem as a whole, even between Ethereum, Tezos, Binance Smart Chain. We're still in this little niche. It's growing, but it's still a niche. People know about Bitcoin and Ethereum. In New York, they know now about Tezos thanks to brilliant marketing, but it's still so early. What was the question again? Jesus.
But the question was regarding the idea of brands in this space collaborating together. In the bigger picture.
I was going in the direction of marketing, and then I got lost a bit.
Also important.
No, with Bender Labs, they're really collaborative. So first of all, that's a plus. We also worked with Calamint and some other teams in the space, but the team at Bender Labs really sees the vision of how to describe that. No, they have a really open mind. So we can just discuss ideas, and that's something we didn't came across that often in space, not even on Tezos. So I don't think we could have developed the CTES implementation with any other team in Tezos right now, because they just have a different mindset than most of the teams out there.
Okay. I think we have a couple of viewer questions that Will's going to jump in with here. You ready for that?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so actually going back on to what you were just discussing, Bernd, someone in the audience asked what Oracle is used for the price feeds?
No oracles.
No oracles, okay.
No oracles. Not yet. There are no good, there is Harbinger. But we decided not to go with oracles yet because it's not that commonly used yet on Tezos.
Gotcha.
The same with DAOs on Tezos. It's still not that commonly used. So it would be, people. there needs to be a team that takes the first step. We saw Colibri experimenting with their governance token. So there are steps still needed before projects can really have a proper governance model on Tezos. But yeah, the first steps have been taken. Is that how you say it?
Makes sense. We have another question too. Richard asked, what do you see the pathway for Plenty being to moving into competing with Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain?
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said competing because we're not competing. We're just this tiny project next to them. But yeah, we're still growing exponentially, so that's really cool to see still. But the challenge here is, it is an advantage of Tezos that we're different, but also a disadvantage. You see now a lot of, when Ethereum struggled with the gas fees, people moved to Binance Smart Chain. They didn't care about any philosophical motivations about moving liquidity to a centralized organization, but people still moved their assets because it was easy. It was easy and it had huge yields. So a project like Wrap Protocol tries to make it easier for people to move from Ethereum to Tezos, but I would love to see a Binance Smart Chain bridge as well. That would really help. Just a bridge could quickly attract liquidity to Tezos. And you've seen that with Avalanche as well, right? So they created a bridge and it became easy to move huge amounts of funds. So people did it and there was incentive for it. So we just need to make it as easy as possible to move liquidity to Tezos and then give people incentive to move that liquidity.
Okay, and so going back to when we were speaking with Hugo, we talked about CTES, and I spoke to you recently a little bit about CTES and CRTES, and I was wondering if you could maybe clear up a little bit of the confusion out there and talk about the similarities and differences and what CTES and CRTES mean for people in this ecosystem.
Yeah, so I can talk a bit about CTES, but not about CRTES because I'm no expert in that. I didn't build it. Oh, I said we developed CTES earlier. We didn't develop CTES. The smart contracts were all written by Arthur Brightman. You probably heard of him. But we are just updating the UI, the Plenty team. So the Plenty team is updating the UI, creating a nice user experience. I just shared on Twitter a picture of the upcoming UI. But yeah, what CTES is developed in a way that it doesn't require governance, and is it just works. That's the beauty of it. It's very elegant. You can just put your Tez into a locker or into an oven and mint CTES out of that. And then you can use that CTES on platforms like Plenty. And it's easier for platforms like Plenty to use CTES because it's tokenized. And Plenty is a token-to-token exchange. So keeping everything on a token level of FA 1.2 and FA 2 makes it a lot easier to operate. One other thing is when you put XTZ into a smart contract, you need to answer the question, who is baking that XTZ? We saw a few discussions online debating who should, or I saw on QuicklySwap that users voted the Plenty liquidity pool to be delegated to a bakery that didn't even have space. So those kind of problems won't be there when CTES gets deployed. And from what I believe from CRTES, it's architected in a different way, and also there is some governance involved. But yeah, the beauty of CTES is that there's no governance involved, and when you have people putting Tez in CTES worth of billions of dollars, yeah, you don't want you don't want that to need governance or in any way. If that can be managed without governance, that would be perfect. If the system just works, it does what it needs to do. You can mint CTES, you can exchange Tez for CTES, then that's that. It's nothing more than that.
Okay. So I just want to announce the keyword for the Tezos branded Nano Ledger S. The keyword is !plenty. I know it's already been announced in the chat, but if you haven't already, put that keyword in the chat, and we'll be selecting a winner at random by the end of the show. So as I understand it, you've recently undergone an audit.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that process and what the results of that audit were?
Yeah, so we use a company called I don't even know how to pronounce it. Apriorit. I only write it on articles and on Twitter, so I don't know how to pronounce it. At least that company, we've been working with them since the start of Plenty with the first audit as well, and we got their recommendation from the cryptonomic team. So they already were familiar with Tezos, so that was already a big plus, because finding an audit company that does Tezos is near to impossible. And if they do Tezos, they have a queue of months. We explored audit companies back in June for the first staking contracts. Audit companies said it would take like 3 months to get started with an audit. So it was we had to find a different way to do audits. And thanks to Cryptonomic, we found an amazing company that also found vulnerabilities in our multi-sig contract, and we fixed those.
Well, that's why you do it, right?
Yeah, to fix those vulnerabilities. But yeah, they're not a guarantee to no bugs or no vulnerabilities, because we saw on Tezos both decentralized exchanges, QuickBSwap and Dexter were audited, and they both had vulnerabilities. So it is always a risky business to do DeFi.
Of course. I think we have another audience question here. Will, do you want to do that, or do you want me to take it?
Yeah, so we had a question from Andy. I think it touches back on what you were talking about earlier with bridging between different blockchains, Bernd. But he asked, do you guys have any planned incentives when the bridge is established to attract more users?
We've been thinking about maybe airdropping to people that come from other chains. We've been thinking about it, but nothing set in stone. But if you have good ideas, please suggest to join the Discord and give suggestions, because we are in very close touch with the community on Discord. They suggest us stuff, they give feedback, so we try to implement as much of that feedback as possible every time we iterate.
Just as we're coming to the end here, in terms of where we are right now with DeFi primitives, what are you most excited to see as we move on to higher level applications here?
Higher level. I'm most excited about a mobile experience. We are currently also with Tezsure developing Nan wallet built in our open source Flutter library. We just finished the Beacon integration, and we're working on an NFT gallery, buying NFTs inside your mobile wallet, using Plenty in your mobile wallet, everything mobile first. That's what's most exciting to me right now in DeFi, because it's all on desktop. It's all still for people who have laptops, desktop devices. Some stuff doesn't even work on tablets, and definitely not on phones. So, and the large, like, there's this, the last few years we heard about banking the unbanked, that saying, like, giving DeFi into the hands of the people that need it the most. Well, what they have is a mobile phone,
Yeah.
and not a laptop. So
Yeah.
it needs to be mobile first, and that's why we are continuing the work on non-wallet. We have a separate team focused on that.
That's an awesome answer. So we do have a winner for the Tezos branded Nano Ledger S. It is Joshua Isaac. Please, congratulations. Email us at social@tezoscommons.org so we can verify you, and then we'll get that sent over as quick as we can. And we'll request a screenshot to verify that it's the correct YouTube account owner. To get a hold of us or find us on social, just look for us on tezoscommons.org/TezTalks. You'll find all our social links and everything. Bernd, thanks so much for joining us today. It's always awesome to speak to the folks working behind the scenes to build the Tezos ecosystem. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about while you've got the chance here?
Yeah, if you want to work with us, shoot me a message on Telegram, Twitter, Discord, anywhere. We're hiring aggressively, so join the team and earn plenty of plenty.
I like it. Thanks a lot. To everyone out there in Tezos land, thanks for joining us on the TezTalks live stream. We're Stu and Will from the Tezos Commons. Our awesome guest has been Bernd Oostrum from Plenty DeFi. Now let's go get degenerate on Plenty.